Welcome once again to On the Bench Extra, where it's all about football. With me is Hardy today, and we debate the latest results. We hear the views of Hull and Scunthorpe's management ahead of their games this weekend, and as always, lots more football chat. Hardy, we'll start with Grimsby's biblical strike partnerships over the current season, and obviously seasons gone by. We're asking, what do you think to the current strikers at town?
Well, they've not got a bad choice, have they? The strikers that are there, obviously a lot of competition. Strikers that are getting the goals, obviously John Lewis is still Town's top scorer, but I know he's obviously been away from the side at the moment due to other reasons like injuries.
15 goals this season.
Yeah, he's got a lot of goals, and obviously he's come on a lot this season in terms of, some were doubting his scoring ability, and he's proved a lot of people wrong. He hasn't scored in a long while, but obviously his partner has given birth.
Now,
so
we look at John Akinde at Barnet, his top scorer there with 29 goals. So in comparison, Linnell's only got half of that. Is that still a good strike, return?
Yeah, it's not bad because other players have been chipping in with goals. I think Disley's the next top scorer for Grimsby, and he's scoring from midfield.
It's actually Pittman now with 9, Disley with 8.
Sorry, yeah, Pittman next, because of the goal he got last week.
They are chipping in, so that's obviously a good thing.
Of course it is, yeah. Obviously, you don't want to become too reliant on one player, and I think Barnet have a little bit with Akinde. There's no doubt. I mean, he's absolutely storming the scoring charts, Akinde. So,
well, we asked this question on social media in midweek. We got a big response. I think it's unanimous, the strike partnership that the fans want. Ash Thompson says Palmer and Pittman. Tom Mains, Palmer and Pittman. Kim Wingate, Palmer and Pittman. Jolly on the wing where they can utilise his pace. Thanks, Kim, for that. Ross Hanna himself says he'll put Hanna and Hanna up front if he had his way every week. Bob Graves, Palmer and Pittman. David Rook says Palmer and Pittman, so we think we know where this is going now. Yeah. There's a few more on Twitter as well. David Fleer, Ollie Palmer and Ross Hanna. Slight difference there. Joe Maguire, Palmer and Pittman. David Holmes said Rooney and Ronaldo. No, there's always one.
I think they're lucky to be out the side, Rooney and Ronaldo, aren't they?
And then Steve Claiborne says Palmer and Pittman, he'd bring Linnell John Lewis on after 60 minutes instead of a defender. So, there's a few variations there, but I think it's Palmer and Pittman.
Yeah, I think that's the majority going with that. Yeah, I think of recent weeks, the partnership seems to have worked pretty well. And obviously, if it's working well and if Town are getting the goals from it and the players are chipping in, then I don't think you can argue with it.
I think it's only good for Paul Hurst when there's that competition in the squad, because if there's only one striker scoring goals, that striker knows I'm going to be playing next week. I'm the only guy scoring. But does this competition push the strikers on to perform better?
I think it does, and it also for the players that aren't playing, they know that they need to come on and they need to put in a performance. They need to do something, because if they're not scoring goals, they know they're going to be on the bench again next week. So I think it's healthy. I think it's good competition. I think probably all the strikers that are in there would say that it's a good thing for them.
Now, we mentioned Linnell's top scorer with 15. Obviously, we know John Akinde's high up the charts with 29. Matty Taylor at Bristol Rovers has got 13. Not a bad return. Wade Fairhurst at Macclesfield with 9. Now, I'm surprised at that. 9 goals, top scorer, but yet the third, fourth in the league.
Yeah, Wade Fairhurst, I think he scored from the halfway line earlier this season. He scored an absolute screamer. But Macclesfield just shows there that, they've probably, I'm not sure exactly, but they've probably got players chipping in from everywhere that have got maybe 7 or 8 goals.
They've got top scorers, 2 on 9, Paul Turnbull with 5, Danny Whittaker on 5, so they are chipping in.
Midfielder chipping in with goals.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Hardy. We'll move on. We'll look at the latest results. Hull came away from Leicester with a point as they drew 0-0 despite being a man short for the last 20 minutes after Tom Huddleston's red card. The Tigers remain in 15th. Neil Bishop gave Scunthorpe the lead against Sheffield United before being pegged back by Kieran Freeman. The Iron now sit in 17th position and 3 points above the relegation zone with games in hand. Grimsby raced into a 2-0 lead thanks to Ollie Palmer and John Paul Pittman against Chester. However, the hosts bounced back with 2 goals in the last 15 minutes. After the midweek games, Grimsby are 4th and 6 points behind returning leaders Barnet. Lastly, North Ferriby have now won back-to-back games after beating Hednesford 3-1 on Saturday and then following that up with a 4-2 victory on Tuesday evening at Solihull Moors. They are now 10th. Hardy, few results there to have a go at. Let's start with North Ferriby's. Obviously, they're hot on everyone's lips right now. They're hot on mine. That result, 4-2, away from home, just before the Wembley final, how good is that?
Fantastic, a midweek result as well, obviously having the game on the Saturday and then playing on the Tuesday. Sometimes, you're travelling away, you think, maybe don't fancy it, especially with the cup final coming up. To win 4-2, a brilliant result. And
before that, there was a win as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic, and the playoff push really does look still like it's on now.
I think confidence is growing, and a win at Wembley would only obviously help to that playoff push. Let's look at Hull City, that draw. Before we actually heard from Steve Bruce last week, he said it was a must-win for both sides, really. I think a point, a fair result.
From the look of things, possibly, yeah. I mean, a 0-0 sort of screams out two teams that are maybe panicking a bit. And because Bruce had said it was a must-win, maybe both managers were feeling the same and thought we can't afford to lose. And maybe that's why the score was 0-0. I mean, Hull obviously now in 15th, 3 points clear of the relegation zone.
It's not a great deal though. One loss and a win from the sides below, and they're right in that.
Well, exactly. You look at the teams below them. They've got Villa that are just one place below them. Villa looking rejuvenated now. Burnley are 2 places below them. Burnley obviously getting the result against City.
Should Hull City be worried about Villa's resurgence? I mean, Sherwood's going to drag them up the table, I think. And is it Hull's to go down?
I think it is. I don't think there was ever any doubt that Villa had the quality in the team with Benteke and players like that. I think they just needed. I think they'd obviously fallen out with Lambert.
I think they needed that kick up the backside from the new manager.
I think whoever came in would have done a decent job. I don't think it's particularly Sherwood himself. That's a bit controversial, but I don't think it's massively just on Sherwood.
Scunthorpe, we wrote them off against Sheffield United, because Sheffield United are a bigger side in the league and they've been losing to those. But a point, what a result for Scunthorpe.
Fantastic. I think I said as well that I didn't think they'd have the strength to hold off Sheffield United. Brilliant result. Obviously, they're playing them again very soon in a rearranged fixture. You take results like that. Sheffield United is such a big team in that league. They should actually, I think, be nearer the automatic promotion spot.
Yes.
Sheffield United.
Lastly, Grimsby. I know your thoughts on this, but let's just talk about it. 2-2 at Chester. Should have been 3 points.
It really should. I mean, I just don't think you can go 2-0 up away from home and then draw.
Especially if you're chasing promotion.
Exactly that. I mean, 2-0 up, 74, 75 minutes gone. You think you're just solid. You do the defending right. You close your men down, and everyone knows the role and what they need to do. And it's such a shame. You don't want to put blame on a manager, but
thank you.
The sub has to
thank you for that, Hardy. So we actually spoke to Scunthorpe United in midweek, so let's hear from those now.
How's the squad looking for Rochdale on Saturday? I know Bish has...
Yeah, Bish has had a successful operation on his groin area, so he's going to be out for probably a month or so. Which is a big disappointment for us all, not just for Bish, but operation went very well, and everybody else is okay. Sean McAllister and Hacks have both got breaks in the hand, but that won't stop them doing anything, doesn't stop them training or anything, so and all the other usual suspects are okay. Keith's an excellent manager, and he's been there before, so he knows the club inside out, so it'll be a test for us, but one that we're really looking forward to. We've been creating plenty of opportunities to score of late and just failing to convert them. So we'll be obviously looking to hopefully get on the score sheet and win the game.
Has that been a bit of a concern within the squad?
No, not really. I think if you don't create things, I think you get a little bit more edgy. Where we've created something like 100 and just over 100 opportunities on goal over the last 6 games, so which is a big amount. So if we keep doing that, the goals will come. We are trying to play attractive football. We are trying to get plenty of efforts on goal, and that will continue. There's a lot of belief within the squad. They're a really good, hard-working group that believe in each other. So that's the key. And whichever team the gaffer sets out at the weekend, we were always looking to win.
The thoughts of Scunthorpe United there. Iron fans, let us know what you think about your club. Hardy, we'll look at another manager this week. This time it's Sean Dyche of Burnley. We're looking at him for sack or stick. Now, what do you think to the job he's doing at Burnley?
Amazing. I mean, they're in the relegation zone, but you look at them compared to other teams in the Premier League, their budget, not just on transfers, on wages as well, is significantly lower than a lot of the teams that are in there, most of them.
The 3 sides that came up, Leicester, QPR, Burnley, I'll be honest, I thought Burnley would be the first team to go down. Like we said, Leicester might be safe, QPR had the money, they had Redknapp, but Burnley, they're achieving, they're doing well this season, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you, Reidy. I thought they'd be the team that came bottom. But it just shows you what belief and team cohesion can do. A belief in the manager that he is going to get the results. Because there's no doubting that the quality within that side is not as good as a lot of the teams that are around.
It's the confidence, the team spirit that's getting. They'll need that for the next 6 games, Hardy. Southampton, Tottenham, Arsenal, Everton, Leicester and West Ham. Now we said off air, Leicester and West Ham are where you're going to target the points. But if they can take a point off Everton, maybe off Southampton. You know, every point's a bonus in those games for Burnley, surely.
Yeah, definitely. But the thing is, you talk about those 2 games, the target and the points. If they have got a run of bad results, confidence goes down, they're less likely to then get points from the 2 games you'd maybe expect them to get something in.
I guess that's where Sean Dyche comes in, because he has to re-motivate players after a loss. So I have to ask you the question, Hardy. Yes or no answer, sack or stick?
Stick. Done an amazing job.
Yes, I agree. Thank you, Hardy. We'll move on. We'll look at this week's head-to-head challenge. Firstly, let's start with Hardy.
McGregor, Rossinia, Alex Bruce, Curtis Davis, Figueroa, David Mailer, Sonia Luco, Tom Huddleston, Jake Livermore, Robert Brady, El Mohammadi.
7 correct answers there, Hardy. Very good.
Another top effort.
We'll see how I get on in part 2. Before we head to the break, then, it's time for that half-time teaser. Which current Rochdale player made 50 appearances in all competitions for Scunthorpe? We'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome back to Extra. Before the break, I asked you which current Rochdale player made 50 appearances for Scunthorpe. The answer, of course, is the goalkeeper, Josh Lillis. Moving on, still to come, we debate on Hull's chances of staying in the Premier League, we preview the weekend's games, and we hear from Steve Bruce. But before all that, here's time for my challenge this week. Brad Guzan, Liam Rossinia, Michael Dawson, El Mohammadi, Corrin, Huddleston, Livermore, Jelovic, Long, Hardy wins again, but not a bad effort for myself, Hardy.
Not bad, you were closer that time.
Closer, I had someone on the bench as well as you did. We could have had McGregor, Figueroa, Bruce, Chester, Davis, Mailer, Huddleston, Livermore, Boyd, El Mohammadi and Sagbo. And of course, Rossinia and Corrin were on the bench.
Yeah, don't count now.
Well, you win again, so I'm not happy. So let's go and hear now from Steve Bruce.
You played bottom of the table last week, top of the table this week. So how does the approach vary?
Well, I think the beauty of the Barclays Premier League is you play against the top or the bottom. They're both difficult games, and there's going to be no more difficult when you play the top teams, of course. And when you play a team of Chelsea, then you know they are the ones that everybody's trying to beat, not just us, because they are top of the pile, and they look racing certainties. You can't see them. You know, what are the 5 points clear with a game in hand? You can't see them blowing that situation, not with 8-9 games. They've only lost 2 all season. So it's going to be a hell of a turnaround. But, you know, we need a result ourselves. We need to pick up a few points, and we've got some tough games ahead, no tougher than this one.
The fact they're out of the Champions League, do you think that will focus them even more on getting the Premier League done quickly?
Well, I think when you listened to Jose last week, he focused his attention straight away back to the Premier League, you know, and you know, they were so close to going through. To go out on the away goals rule is, I'm sure, disappointing for them. The one thing it has done is refocus them, because they haven't got that distraction now. So they've already got one cup in the bag, and as I've said, they look near uncertainties to go and win the league because of the way they are. So a big, difficult game, but one where everybody enjoys. You enjoy pitting yourself against the big teams, and it's a classic Premier League one, isn't it? You know, the mighty Chelsea are coming to us, so it's a good fixture. I've got huge respect for Morris, and I think it was him anyway, the challenge. because he's a very, very good player. But the way he rolled around the pitch is something which, for me, we have to stamp out on.
The thoughts of Steve Bruce there ahead of this weekend. This weekend, of course, for Hull City will be very difficult. So we touched on it earlier, Hardy, but their chances of staying in the Premier League this season. What are your thoughts on that?
Difficult. They are difficult, especially as we talked about earlier. The resurgence of Villa, looking good now, and the games that Hull have got coming up, which obviously make it very, very difficult. We said about Chelsea, other games coming up.
Southampton, Liverpool, the very tough running. Should Steve Bruce be looking at other clubs, thinking Aston Villa are behind us? Sunderland have got a new boss. Can Dick keep Sunderland in the Premier League this season?
Well, he won't be saying that to the media, but he'll be thinking that. He will be looking and thinking.
And Steve Bruce must be thinking, they've got a new manager. Sherwood's, got this Villa resurgence. Burnley have beat City. They've got something about them. Should Steve Bruce be thinking, actually, I need to pay attention to these other sides?
Exactly that, yeah. And I think he will. I think he will be a little bit hot under the collar and worrying about what is going to happen. But all he can do is focus on his own side, get the team scoring and get them defending a little bit better. I know they kept a clean sheet in the last game, but they need to keep looking for getting those 3 points. It's no good getting draws everywhere because that won't keep them up.
Your man, Damon Doy, obviously scoring in the 3 consecutive home games he started in. Can he keep this up this weekend? And can Hull get a result against Chelsea?
No, I don't think they can get a result against Chelsea. You don't want to be negative about it.
We'll touch on that a bit later in the show. But we were saying off air as well, Leicester have actually a good run in of fixtures. They're obviously, can they get out of the relegation zone? They've got West Ham, West Brom, Swansea, Tottenham, Burnley, Sunderland as well. That's a massive game. Yeah,
winnable games, definitely. They'll be looking at getting 3 points in those. And Leicester are the only team that are below Hull that've got a game in hand. They are quite far below, a little bit out of reach with it. But a few wins in those games, which are winnable.
6-7 points.
And they're back in it.
And is Bruce looking at that? Is he looking at Leicester's fixtures? Is he looking at Burnley's fixtures and thinking, they can win that, they can win that. We need to win these.
Probably will, but like I said, he needs to think about how his team are going to get the results and get the points that they need to stay up. I still think Hull will stay up.
Do you think it's beyond their control, or is it still in their hands?
Still in their hands, most definitely, and that is a positive. That's a good thing.
I think Bruce, as you say, that's what managers don't like, when it's out of their hands. If they can win their games, they stay up. That's simple.
You don't want a Sunderland situation last season where they're having to rely on teams losing and winning your games in hand. You don't want that. So Hull need to focus on getting the wins and forgetting about it come the end of the season and start again next year.
Do you think, if you was a Hull fan, would you write off a result this weekend and think, we can accept losing to Chelsea, probably the best Chelsea team in years. We'll look at the next fixture or the one after that.
Some fans will probably be optimistic. Some of the Hull fans will be thinking, well, why not? We've seen Burnley beat City, albeit City aren't doing as well as Chelsea, but we've seen it can happen. That's the beauty of the Premier League as well.
So will they stay up, yes or no?
Yes.
I'll say yes as well.
Good.
Let's look at the upcoming fixtures this weekend then. Hull, as we mentioned, host Chelsea on Sunday, who they have yet to beat in this fixture since a 3-0 win in 1988. Can Damon Doy continue his impressive home record, having scored in his first 3 games at the KC Stadium? Scunthorpe visit Rochdale, hoping to complete a double that they achieved last season. In this fixture, November 2013, they won 4-0, with 3 goals in the last 15 minutes. After the disappointing result at Chester last Saturday, Grimsby will be hoping to be less complacent against fellow playoff rivals Eastleigh at Blundell Park, a massive game there. North Ferriby look to continue their unbeaten run to 4 games at Brackley Town and make it 3 away wins on the trot. This is the Villagers' last game before their big day out at Wembley next Sunday in the FA Trophy final. It's such a big game, Hardy. We'll start with that. North Ferriby away at Brackley. Now, this is the game where players will be thinking, I can't break my shin. I want both my ankles intact.
Yeah.
So how will they approach this game?
They'll have probably been thinking that for weeks, as we've said on previous shows. But this, obviously, being the final game, they really don't want to get any niggles or anything at all. Do you
think the team selection here will be influenced by? What's the manager thinking? Does he select some of the lads that don't get chance? Is he saving his top goal scorer, for example, or his best midfielders?
Well, it'll be interesting to see, because the 7 or 8 days, possibly there might be a little bit of squad rotation, maybe. Brackley are 18th in the league, so not one of the stronger teams.
Ferriby now 10th, of course, after that midweek win. So is this a game Ferriby should win?
I think they've got they can win it. And because now the playoffs are still really, there's a chance of getting into them, I think they'll be really positive going into this game.
Now, Grimsby hosting Eastleigh, probably on paper one of the toughest games left of their season. I think this is a must-win if you ask me. Do you agree?
A definite must-win because Eastleigh need the win as well. Eastleigh have had a lot of games lately, so you're hoping that tiredness, fatigue might play a little part.
They do have games in hand as well. I think it's 1 over Grimsby at the moment, or are they level on games?
I think they're level on games, Eastleigh with Grimsby, but obviously Eastleigh having games
over Forest Green above them.
Yeah, so they desperately need a win as well. It's probably one of the sort of biggest games this season.
Do you think we could go as far as saying if Grimsby win this, that's the playoffs cemented?
You never know. You really can't say.
I said that last week.
You can't say at all because they could end up losing, against Welling or.
It happens.
It happens. It really does.
Scunthorpe United then hosting Rochdale. They visit Rochdale. What do you think of that? I mean, obviously an impressive result against Sheffield United. Can they beat Rochdale?
Rochdale are pushing for the playoffs. So Rochdale are in 10th. They're 4 points off the playoffs, but they've got 2 games in hand on some of the teams above them. Rochdale overperforming probably, doing really, really well. Ian Henderson scoring a lot of goals. He's got 17. Scunthorpe struggling. Madden's not scored in about a month now.
But Scunthorpe do have about 2 games in hand still. They've not played them. So, if they win those games in hand, I think they can, jump about 4 or 5 places. So again, it's that. Are they going down? Are they going to the playoffs? What are they doing?
We still don't know. We're still in that situation we were about a month or 2 ago where we were saying, well, they've got these games in hand. Obviously, they haven't capitalised on the games they have played. But if you look at it, they've got a game in hand on some of the teams that are above and all of the teams below them. It's such a crazy league, League One.
I think Robbins probably looks at that and thinks, obviously they'd rather have points on the board, the old cliche. But those games in hand, the potential's there to go further up the table.
Yeah, of course it is. And they've just got to keep looking up. That's all they can do.
Hull City then. We've mentioned that a bit earlier. We've mentioned the relegation sort of amongst the club. Chelsea, it is a hard game. Realistically, can they get this result? Obviously, Chelsea coming off the back of 2 poor results.
Yeah, they did get a draw in the last game, Chelsea, obviously, against Southampton. But I just can't see how Hull are going to get a result out of this one. I just think Chelsea are too strong. And with the problems that Hull have had in terms of scoring goals and things, and you look at Chelsea's defence, it's pretty solid.
Obviously, one bonus is at home. Can Hull City look at the Burnley result against City and think, if Burnley can beat City, we could potentially, beat Chelsea?
That's the one bit of belief they've got. The game is actually at home. If it had been away, it had been, for me, a complete write-off. Can they use that home advantage to then capitalise on Chelsea and get behind the team? That remains
to be seen. Is that
seen.
Bruce's job then to galvanise the players and say, Burnley have done it, we could do it?
I think it is, yeah, and I think it's up to the club.
Can I take a result for that game for you?
I'm going to go 2-0 Chelsea.
I think 2-1 Chelsea. Thank you, Hardy, for that. Well, time has beaten us once again. As usual, we'll be back every Saturday at 10 a.m. If football isn't your cup of tea, you can watch On the Bench this Tuesday at 8. It's with Rachel Chadwick as Rob Underwood has a week off. As usual, we'll be on social media, keeping you up to date, so don't forget to get in touch that way. Details are on your screen now. And if you wish, why not give our resident stat man a tweet using @TakesStat. And that's it from us this week, so until next time, goodbye.